Real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
We heard today that Michael Healy-Rae called Sinn Féin TD Angus O'Snuddig outrageous and hypocritical for objecting to plans for more than 200 social and affordable homes as they could cast a shadow over neighbouring council houses. Michael Healy-Rae also described the decision to send an objection to plans for social housing in the Sinn Féin TD's Dublin South Central constituency as blackguarding of the worst type. Yeah, blackguard. I love that word. It's a great art word, isn't it? He even went as far as to say, send those houses down to Kerry and they can shadow my house. We do not care whose house they shadow once there's a roof over people's heads. Mr. Healy-Rae said he cannot understand why TDs, who are supposed to represent people who elected them, continue to object to housing despite the accommodation crisis. So does he have a point? Now, we have seen numerous times where TDs have objected to housing. Aona Reardon, going back down near St. Anne's Park there some time ago as well, on behalf of his constituencies, he objected, he's part of objections. Richard Boyd Barrett, from what I remember, in Dunleary, Rathdown, I think that was the area. His group objected to particular housing for a particular reason. I can't remember what the reasons were. But, do you understand why somebody might object to social housing? Is it your right to do so? Now, maybe there's a bit of a class thing going on. But I'm going to put you in a situation. You've paid €400,000 for your house in Dublin. Or, I don't know, 300,000 for an expensive house in Cork. Or whatever it happens to be. The question I'm simply asking you is, would you object if there was planning in the area for social housing? Would you object? Let me know what you think. The number, as usual, is 087 188 0008. That's 087 188 0008. Would you object to social housing in your area? Let me know what you think. 087 188 0008. Let me just go to Sean if I can. Sean, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall, how are you?
Good. Sean, would you object?
Niall, I was talking to a researcher earlier on. This has me fuming, Niall, because this happened to us. So, Niall, we were in social housing, okay? And, we worked hard to get out of social housing, Niall, and we bought our own house there probably 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely house, Niall. We spent 350,000 on this house.
Right, okay.
2 doors down, Niall. It's 3 doors down, actually. Now, there is a social housing scheme integrated into the housing estate now. And, I don't know what happened, but the first couple that were there, they were lovely now. They were great. You wouldn't hear a pin drop. And then they moved. I don't know why or what happened, but another couple moved in with a few young kids. And I have to say, Niall, feral is not even, that it doesn't even,
when you say they were feral, what do you mean feral?
Animals, and I mean animals. 3-4 cars on both sides of the road. A trailer, a caravan in the garden, and we're like, fuck's sake, and we as a resident said, look, will you sort that out there? Will you get that car? Yeah, fuck you. We were told to fuck off now. Okay. It's not fair now. And that's what I mean. It's not fair that I had to spend €350,000 on this house, and then these assholes get a house for nothing. They don't care, Niall. You see, they got the house for free. They don't care.
What? So your belief is if you get something for nothing, you don't care about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Watch the language a bit there, Sean, if you can. Okay.
Sorry, Niall.
Yeah,
but that's the truth. And I'm very fired up over this. And I'm glad you're talking about this. Because these feral they don't care about their neighbours. They don't care about what they're doing, because they got it for free now. Mm-hmm. And that's the fact about social housing. Social housing shouldn't be integrated into purchase houses. And I want to get that out straight now. And I'm going to be probably called all the names under the sun. I don't.
But by your own admission, there were nice people in it initially.
Yes.
Well, it's not everybody in social housing is like that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Now we have animals, and it is animalistic what they're doing. And here's the thing, though. I'm not even messing with you. I'm thinking about just getting the feck out of here. I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. The people that are bringing up, the parties that happen, the animalistic.
But you can have somebody could buy a house up the road for you and behave like a fool as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I doubt it, Noel. Here's the thing: if you're spending 350, 400 grand on a house, I don't think they're going to act the same. Look, you could be unlucky. I get that, but you can't be as unlucky as where social housing and purchase housing shouldn't be integrated. I don't care what anyone says. As I said.
So what? They should be just put out on their own somewhere.
No. Build social housing
together
for social housing.
But then the problem is when you do that, right? You end up with ghettos, or you end up with bad housing estates.
But here's the thing, Noel. It was always done like this.
Look at the problems we had. You know, and we built places like Cherry Orchard and Ballymun and Darndale, and they end up with bad reputations.
Yeah, but I'm paying through my arse, Noel, for the house, and these idiots are getting the house for nothing, and they're ruining it for everybody, and they're turning it into a ghetto, as you said, because that's what they're doing. You want to see the amount of scumbags that bring down on Halloween night, drinking, shouting, screaming all over the roads, you know, and Noel, this went on till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. What a load of shite, like.
Okay, well, hang on. Stay there for a second. Let me go to Eddie as well. Eddie, hi. How are you?
Evening, Noel. You well?
Good. Eddie, there you go. Sean says he would object to social housing because of the experience he's had.
I wouldn't often agree with Sean, but on this one I do. I'm going to tell you a story about a chap I used to work with, right? Him and his missus saved up 2 good jobs, saved up, sacrificed everything for years, bought a house in Balbriggan, spent about 400 grand. Biggest purchase he's ever going to make in his life. He drove up there religiously once a week for about 6 months to suss out the area, drive in, see what it's like, talk to the neighbours. Everyone said, lovely, beautiful area. So he purchased this house. It's forever home. He was living there 2 years, lovely, great, big green, less than 100 metres away from him. After 2 years, they built social housing beside him. His house now is in negative equity. It's worth less than what he paid for it. The crime rate has gone up. Now, people are going to criticise me, but everybody knows there's more antisocial behaviour in a council area than a private area.
That's statistic. It is statistically true. I'm not going to deny that.
Statistically true. I mean, you seen it last night there in Killinarden. Rob car joyriding going around
with no tyres on the car. Yeah.
Yeah, all of this. This would probably happen in a private area, but to a lesser extent, you know? Mm. And you see there where you're saying the reason that integration is now, it's like 90% private and 10% council. And you're saying the reason they do this now is because they don't want to create ghettos, right?
Yeah.
I get that, but say, for example, they build a new council estate. In 20 years' time, it becomes a ghetto. Why doesn't the private estate in 20 years become a ghetto?
No, you're right. It doesn't. It doesn't.
You know what I mean? It doesn't. So now you're going out and you're buying your forever home, and then there's somebody fucking moves in across the road and brings down the tone of the area. And why do always people say, oh, I grew up in this area, but when I got a good job, I wanted to better myself? They move out of these areas.
Yeah, but we can't generalise and say everybody in council housing is bad for the area.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because all my brothers and sisters are in council areas.
Yeah.
And they're salt of the earth in these areas. But,
I came from a council house.
We all know there's a higher crime rate and a higher antisocial behaviour in council areas.
Sorry, Sean, what did you say? You came from a council area.
Area.
Of course. My whole family came from council housing. My mother, my father, they came from Sheriff Street. They were townies. They were in flats. You know, we all came, my whole family. But you know, when as what that last caller said, we're trying to better ourselves. We're trying to, you know. Now here's the thing, Noel. And you know, on your last caller, you know, what I'm going to do now is, Noel, I'm nearly 99% sure that we're just going to get out here in the next couple of months, and I have my eye on. It's a house in Tullow, in County Carlow. It's on its own. You know, it's on a half acre of land, and that's where I want to be. Because you know what? I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to put myself through this again or my family through this again. Because that's what you said, Noel. It's lotto. You're getting the lotto numbers when you buy a fucking house, and you know you could get to under the door.
No, I mean, I feel sorry for anybody who spends a lot of money on a house, and you can't pick your neighbours, unfortunately. And some head cases.
There, and you move in, Noel, and you want to raise your kids in an area where there's less crime, and you do your homework, and then all of a sudden they build a council estate on your doorstep. My sister lives in a council house, and she says to me every week, "God, I wish I didn't live here." She'd be gone in a heartbeat, you know. She's but
the argument Michael Healy-Rae is making
for the majority.
Yeah, the argument Michael Healy-Rae is making is that you know, here we have politicians calling for more social housing to be built, and as soon as the government say, well, okay, we'll designate this area for social housing, they object to it because they say, well, hold on, our constituents who live there don't want that housing beside them. In other words, not in my backyard.
Exactly.
Well, it's always going to be the case.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, there's plenty of vast open green belts in the suburban Dublin area. And I know they don't want to build these council areas because they turn into ghettos, but if you don't want to be in a ghetto, then do well for yourself in life and move somewhere else.
Yeah, but that's fair enough, and I would agree with Jeddy, but not everybody, unfortunately, has the privilege of doing well for themselves.
Well, Niall, can I say something to you there, Niall? It's about getting off your arse and doing something about it, Niall, and that's what me and my partner done. You know, we could have stayed in the council house for as long as we wanted, you know, till death do us part, as one says. But the fact of the matter is that we didn't want it, and we knew that we could get out of what we were in. Look, it was great, but you know the crime rate, and you know as that last card I said was much higher. You know you could have folk all in the house, Niall, because it'd be robbed. So you know we couldn't have anything, Niall. We couldn't have anything expensive in the house because we were broken to twice in the time that we were living in that house. So we just couldn't invest in anything. We couldn't. It was just,
okay. Well, hang on both of you there for a second. Let me go to Dave as well. Dave, hi. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Dave. How are you? Dave, do you think it's hypocritical for politicians to be objecting to social housing on behalf of their constituents?
Well, it's kind of a funny thing about the whole housing debate, isn't it? It's like, we need more houses. We don't have enough housing for people. Then they're like, right, we're going to build more houses. And then the arguments come up that, oh, look at that person's getting something for nothing. And, oh, I don't want that built here.
Well, it's not my backyard, yeah.
There's a bit of a double-edged sword here. On the one hand, we need lots more houses. But on the other hand, when they propose to build more houses, people start getting their knickers in the twist over it.
Well, I can understand what Eddie said about his mate buying a house.
We all need them. We all know we need the houses. We just don't have to integrate them. We don't have to integrate them, Dave.
No, and come here. I fundamentally agree with everybody here. We all grew up in council estates, and the first thing any of us wanted to do was get the fuck out of the council estates. Do you know? So, you see, the problem isn't necessarily that they're council houses. You know what I mean? Because like the vast majority of people I know who are in council houses are lovely people. The problem is, it's the types of people that end up in the council house. Like Johnny Scumbag probably isn't going to get approved for a mortgage, or someone who's dealing drugs. You know, they're not exactly declaring that, you know, to revenue. And if you can, you know, just go on the dole for life and, you know, get a council house and blah, 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 blah. But the problem is when someone gets into a house like that and they start causing eruptions, there's no way of getting them back out again. Do you know? And then if you get them out, where are you going to put them? You know,
they have to go somewhere, yeah.
I'm just tiny violence off the West Coast.
I'll tell you what, Niall, and I want to say something there, Niall, what that Carter just said there. Here's the thing, and I have the treatment for that. 3 strikes and you're out. No matter what house. Well, obviously, if it's a council house, yes, they can't fuck you out of it.
Well, they can, but it's extremely rare the council will put people out for antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, but that's what I'm
They
saying,
need to be
Niall,
nearly killing people next door to them.
Yeah, but
Noel, I will say to you here now, right? You will not get one single caller on here who has took out a 30 to 35 year mortgage, who's busting their bollocks to live in a nice area, that will agree with council's houses being built on a doorstep. You will not get one caller who goes, yeah, come on.
But then again, I've callers on every night saying we should be building more council housing.
Yeah, and we should.
but just not near me, please. Yeah.
We should. No.
Well, I mean, Dave, isn't that really the point you're making? We should be building more council housing, but just not near me.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, like the estate I'm in is kind of a 50-50 council and council and private. The house estate across the road from me is council and private. The house estate just up the road from me, I think, is all council. You know, but I mean, it's not a fair kind of comparison either, because like I live in a small village down the country where like everybody knows everybody. Yeah. So if somebody was acting the bollocks like that, well, let's just say they wouldn't be acting the bollocks like that for long, you know. So the problem is, it's just when people move into these, and particularly like, you imagine like if you live in a shitty area, right? That's known to be a shitty area. I mean, people aren't really going to be moving in going, right, we're going to make this area better. You know what I mean? So they're kind of left to their own devices to a certain extent because people know they're shitholes. Then the people who are living there are basically able to run it the way they want, because A, the guards are just neutered nowadays, and B, like you said, the council aren't going to kick them out. You know, like the council houses aren't a problem. It's the people that are getting into them and the people that are staying in them, and then the lack of any enforcement of, you know, law and order in these particular places. But then again, it goes on to the fact that we don't have enough guards. Like it's a very multifaceted problem, really. It's not just one.
But here's the thing, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It is very, very, very simple. The council should be kicking out assholes that are causing the trouble, and that's what.
And you're right, Sean. You're absolutely right. But here's the thing. So, well, hang on. When you kick out, I don't know, the Murphys for acting like assholes or whatever it is, right? Where do you put them?
Put them into a fucking hostel. They deserve it.
If let's say they have 3 or 4 young kids, what are you going to do then?
And what? And you see, they should have.
You can't put the kids in a hostel.
Hold on, Noel. Hold on. Excuse me, Noel. They should have thought about that before they actually acted the bollocks in the first place. And that's the thing. If you really cared, Noel, you got a council house and you got it for free, which I did originally, and I cared about it, and I made a home. And you think, Noel, just for 1 minute, Noel, right? Just think about this. I treated that as a home. I brought my kids up in it, and I wanted better, Noel. Of course I did, because the area wasn't a great area, and But anyway, Noel, while I was there, we done the best with what we could. Now, left, right, and centre, robbed cars, scumbags, junkies, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's when we moved, and that's when we bought the house that we bought. But the fact of the matter is, I bought that house for 350,000, 375,000 to be precise. The fact of the matter was, Noel, I didn't expect a scumbag down the road, 2-3 doors down, to be moving in beside me and to bring that whole area down again. No, I moved, and the reason why I moved, and the reason why I done this, as what that other guy said, a life-changing amount of money to do this. I wanted out of that. I wanted away from that. But now, you see, if the council really doing what they should be doing is 3 strikes are out, and if that means that they have to go into emergency accommodation, fuck them. Good luck to them.
Okay, well, hang on, stay there. I just want to bring James into this conversation as well. James, hi, how are you?
Hi, how's it going?
James, I'm listening to really everybody here, and even the texts I'm getting in, and people are disagreeing with Michael Healy, right, and probably agreeing with Sinn Féin for a change here, and actually saying that, yeah, you should have a right to object, and why would I pay 350,000 for a house and you move in someone next door, hasn't got a pot to piss in, and there might be a drug dealer?
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it. The only reason I'm 50-50 on it is because you have to be housing people, because that's the problem in Ireland at the moment, isn't it?
Well, allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, yeah. But then again, I do agree, you should have 3 strikes and you're out, or you have to start cracking down on the antisocial behaviour, because that's not on either. Like, you're paying a huge amount of money to be buying a nice house, and then you get scumbags beside you. It's not good either way, like. So that's why I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah, and would you, what do you live in? Do you live in council housing, or do you buy your house?
I'm out in the country, so I wouldn't have...
So it doesn't apply to you?
No, not really, technically.
Yeah, but if you did buy a house and pay 350 grand for it, and they moved somebody in next door, on 30 quid a week rent, in council housing, the council bought the house next door to you, whatever, would you be happy? Are you okay with that?
If there's antisocial behaviour, no. But on the other hand, you have to be housing people. But if they're acting the absolute maggot, like, then obviously it's not fair for you paying the 2.
Okay, you're in your nice leafy suburb house, 350 grand, and you get a leaflet through the door saying, just to let you know, there's a meeting in the local community centre next week. We're showing you plans. We're building, 200 social houses across the road from you.
Yeah, then you're probably not too happy.
So you'd object, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I suppose I would at that way, but I'm...
Well, then we're all on a catch-22, aren't we?
Yeah. The reason why people object is they're saying to themselves, geez, I'm paying a king's ransom, probably paying 500 quid a mortgage, and then all of a sudden your man's 50 feet away, he's probably paying 50 quid a week, and you begrudge it me. We shouldn't, but we do, Now, I wouldn't have a problem if someone moved in and they were salt of the earth. And I want to reiterate this, that most people in council areas are salt of the earth, hard working class. But there's no denying the fact, and it's proven time and time again, there's more antisocial behaviour in council areas than private areas. And that's just a fact. And that is why people won't want it on their doorstep.
No, well, I know, and everybody is the same. Although people pretend they're not the same. You know, they're like everybody else, and they go on social media and say, we need more social housing. Those poor people that don't have houses, we need to give them houses. Oh yeah, but just don't build it beside me.
Like I live in Clondalkin. I live in Clondalkin, so I literally be a 5-minute drive away from Cherry Orchard. But it might as well be another world, because where I am is a private area and that's a council area. And it might as well be another world. You'd never see a Rob car up my way. But you'll see them in the same places all the time, like Cherry Orchard, Finglas, Killinarden. But you wouldn't see them in like Dunleary.
That video, by the way, that was going around last night is
like
outrageous.
This, you know?
Did you see that video?
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the police don't even bother going in anymore. And do you know why you don't go in? Because I work at security at the airport, so I'm quite friendly with a few police. And there's a couple of reasons they don't go in anymore. One, they go in, the car gets rammed, the car's off the road, and then the two guard are whiplash, and they're on the Pan Mick. Your woman, Catherine McEntee, the Justice Minister, will tell you there was 150 guards took on the first 6 months of the year, but she won't tell you that 137 left the force, and she won't tell you there's about another couple of hundred on the sick. You know? And this is the reason why they don't go into these anymore, because the car gets rammed, the car's off the road, then there's no guard presence in that area. The two guards are probably got whiplash, they're on the sick as well, and it's just the way it is.
I know. I don't know, lads, if you see Dave and James, have you seen that video going around in Killinarden last night?
Was your man going around on the rims of the car?
On the rims of the car, yeah. Sparks coming out of the wheels. I mean, and you can be sure the little tow rag behind the wheel is probably 15.
And he's probably got about 100 convictions.
Yeah.
And do you want that living beside you?
What else would you be doing on a Tuesday night, like?
But I mean, but you know, Eddie's got a point. I would rather die than live somewhere where there's robbed cars going in and out of my cul-de-sac every day of the week, and the guards, it's a no-go area for the guards, and a lot of these places are no-go areas.
But look, I mean, that's why I'm so happy my parents made the decision to get out of that shithole called Dublin. Like, I mean, you know, to be
fair, it's not all a shithole. Some of it is.
The city is.
I'm not a big fan.
Come on.
And I'll tell you another thing, Noel. If they wrapped that around the lamppost and killed themselves, all the people would have been coming out. They were lovely lads, beautiful little angles.
Salt of the earth.
Spell the word.
Yeah.
All of that crap, you know.
But to be fair, it is an awful thing that like 15-year-olds. Look, fair enough, they're acting a little scumbag. I'm not saying they're not, but it's an awful damning thing like that. Like 15-year-olds are going out robbing cars and joyride. I mean, you know, how do we combat that?
I've seen these videos, you know, Dave, where not only are the kids out on the green cheering them on, there's parents out on the green cheering them on. You know what I mean? Here's the pigs, quick! Yay!
If you live in one of these areas where these rob cars are going around constantly,
I wouldn't.
You know who's driving them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be living in one of those areas.
You know who's doing that.
Of course you do.
You know who's doing that, but they don't report them.
No, snitches get stitches. That's why.
In my area, private area, it'd be easy to anonymously report them to the guards, and you'd probably do it because for the safety of your own kids, you want to be able to let your kids out. That's why you buy a nice house to grow up in a nice area where your kids can go out on the green, kick a ball, play with their pals, tie a rope around the lamppost. It's more dangerous in these other areas, and that is why people pay a premium to live in a nice area and do well in life. And then all of a sudden, they say, right, we're going to move in.
But then you end up in a two-tier, but you do end up in a two-tier society. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-capitalist or anything like that, or socialist, but you do end up
100% you do. 100%
yeah, so there's the haves and the have-nots.
You pay for what you get. You pay for what you get. You know?
James, is that the way it is? You get what you pay for, yeah?
Yeah, it seems like it is. You're stuck in the middle. You either get ghettos and then you get the nice areas, and then if you get
so if you're in the ghetto, you know, because it's a social house, is it a case of beggars can't be choosers?
Yeah, I suppose when you're getting something for nearly nothing, like it's still a roof over your head, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Well, people will argue that I've had this argument with millions of people over the years that you don't get social housing for nothing. Many people do get social housing for nothing, and the reason I say that is because although it's a subsidised rent, probably about 30 quid a week or whatever it is, depending on the house you're in, depending on your income. But if you're unemployed and you're collecting social payment from the state, you're paying that rent with money you're getting from the state. You're not working for it, so you're technically getting the house for nothing.
Exactly, and it's
I know some people on low income also get social housing too. By the way, I'm not suggesting they're not.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Let me just go to Oisín. You can take 4 if you want to there, Jane. Oisín, hi. How are you?
No, my apologies. Work is a mayor at the moment, so I couldn't answer any phone calls. I do apologise.
You don't have to apologise for anything, Oisín.
It's work is just it's out the door. It's out the door.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I do apologise. So I'm not ignoring you or your team, by the way.
Oh, you're okay.
No, I'm lucky in one respect. I live in Rockinstown, and I'm actually in a social house.
Okay.
So we were offered. What were we offered? Years ago, it was 3 choices. So you could go as far as 2 choices, and you could refuse, and the third choice was the final. That was it.
Yeah, you're off the
list. I think now it's 2.
Yeah.
And so we just dived at the chance of living in Walkinstown, and it turned out extremely well. Now, there are little toe rags, there are little scumbags all over the place, but it's actually at a minimal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is hassle, but there's actually not that much of it.
Well, then you're lucky, aren't you?
I'm not coming on to rub that in anybody's faces now, by the way.
No, not at all. I'm just saying you're in a good position, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you're right, beggars, and the previous callers, beggars can't be choosers. We were just in a position whereby, it just wasn't happening. Not through lack of self-interest or not through lack of, not working. 2 of us were working, everything else.
There are politicians suggesting, and this is not the first time Michael Healy-Rae has said it, by the way, there were other politicians in the past have said that you should not be allowed to object to social housing in your area.
Oh, I've heard about that, yeah.
Do you believe you should be allowed to object?
You see, that's a sticky point. I'd love to say yes. I'd love to say yes, but, you can have scumbags anywhere. You can have toe rags anywhere.
You're less likely to have them paying $350,000 for a house.
You are. Look, let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
100%. If you have 30, 40, 50 families, and again, please don't take this the wrong way, moving into social housing, I don't know. Are they going to look after the property? Were they brought up right? And again, I know I'm going to be slated for saying this, but, are you going to respect the area?
Well, you're a good guy. You probably take care of your property very well and you look after it. But there are cases, and people say this to me all the time, when you get something for nothing, or certainly for practically nothing, you don't really care about it because it's not really yours.
Oh, no, in fairness, I've tiled my house, I've done the timber flooring, I'm an electrician by trade, so I've wired it. The only time I've had to call the corporation out is, I think, twice for a majorly blocked drain in the back garden, but it wasn't from our house, it was actually from the whole street, so it backed up into the back garden. And then the couple of loose tiles on the roof. I've never had to bother them. Never.
But there are other people who will ring them every day for a light bulb.
Oh, literally. Yeah. Oh, yeah, actually, no, they've changed a lot.
I did have a guy on the air one night. He works the contract worker for Dublin, our city council. I think it was Dublin City Council, one of the city councils. And that's his job. He goes around maintaining social housing. And he said he got a call one night from a woman with 3 kids, saying she was in an awful state. She went out to the house and there was a light bulb gone in the front room.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, I have genuinely heard of some of the new social housing. It's nearly kitted out for you.
Yeah.
And I can speak for this firsthand. I'm not mentioning names, nothing, not the area, absolutely zip. And so the people in question moved in, and it was kitted out for them. And they weren't happy with this, and weren't happy with that, and weren't happy with this. It all got taken out, and new stuff got put in.
Yeah, I've heard that. Didn't like the colour of the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, when I got my house, I had to paint. My family was living in the rented accommodation for. Look, I'm not a martyr, so please, anybody out there, don't take this wrong. I spent 6 months in this house on my own. Nothing was painted. The place wasn't in bits, but it wasn't. It wasn't great.
It wasn't to the standard you'd expect.
I literally lived and slept in a building site for 6 months just to get it to where it should be. And I was quite happy doing that because it was a home for my family. And look, let's be honest, I got it for none.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you certainly got it for a lot less than you would if you had to buy a house for
$3. Absolutely. Yeah. And I
but getting back to whether people should be allowed to object, Eddie, what do you say to politicians who will say, and numerous politicians have said it over the last year or two, that people shouldn't be allowed to object?
Oh, I disagree. Like you said,
because we're in a housing crisis, inverted commas.
You do well in life, right? And you buy our forever home, and you want a peaceful life. You want to raise your family. Your kids are able to go out and play in peace and quiet and feel safe. And that's why you pay a premium to live in a nice area. And then all of a sudden they build a house 50 metres away and your man's paying 40, 50 quid a week. And the tone of the area is brought down. Like I said, did you ever hear the phrase, Niall, the fastest car in the world is a hire car?
Yeah.
Because you don't care about it. It's not yours. You rally the shit out of it. You've never put a penny into it to maintain it. It's not yours. You've just got it on loan. You know, it's like if you walk through a private estate and a house and a council estate, you know it's the difference straight away. Straight away.
Yeah.
You know.
Dave, would you agree with that? Yeah.
Huh?
Would you agree with that if you walk through a private estate or purchase houses, as they call them, and a council house estate, you know the difference?
I wouldn't just say. But I wouldn't just say it's like, yeah, because what the lads are talking about is like, it's like when you're renting a house as well, not just a council house. Even if you're in a private rented house, you'll do a bit to kind of have it looking nice, but at the end of the day, it's not yours. But when you have your own home, you're willing to put in that extra bit of graft. You're willing to sink 10, 20, 30,000 into it because you know at the end of the day, you know, your landlord isn't going to kick you out, or, you know, you're not living in an area that's perceived to be full of scumbags and it's a shithole. So, you know, why would you put your nice flowers out in the garden if some little dickhead's going to come in and rip them up during the summertime? You know? So.
Yeah, well, hang on. Stay there. Let me just go to Jerry as well. Jerry, hi, how are you?
How are you doing, Niall?
I'm good, Jerry. What would you like to say?
Niall, I completely disagree with them lads there. A lot of what they're saying is it's not even close to what's reality like.
Right,
you know,
okay.
Just because you give 350,000 for your house and the guy 3 doors down is getting his house for 50 quid a week or 70 quid a week, or whatever, that has nothing got to do with anything. You know,
in what respect? It has to some degree, Jerry, because statistics are statistics. And if you look at statistics for areas of social housing, the crime rate is higher, the antisocial behaviour is higher. So of course it is something to do with it.
Yeah, but okay, for antisocial but Niall, for those areas. But if you're putting, you know, 3 houses in amongst 300 houses, where does that then?
Well, it wouldn't be 30 houses amongst 300, but go on, yeah. Mm.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you've got like 3 local authority houses in amongst 200 houses, where are the stats then? Where do they stand then? And by the way, just so we're clear, are all the things, are they all coming from the local authority houses, or are they coming from the privately owned houses?
Well, they've all admitted they all were raised themselves in council housing.
But why? You know, now you were raised in
council housing. Yeah, Dublin Corporation.
Yeah, absolutely. And
the area, I'm with respect, Jerry, and I say this now because it was a long time ago. The area was a kip that I lived in.
Yeah, well,
there was a lot of antisocial problems in the area.
And was that because were the problems that was in your area at the time? Were they because you lived in a council house, or were they because the people?
Well, it was all council housing. So I used to go. I was a little bit of a snob, probably. I used to go and I used to hang around with my mates who lived in the. Thank you, Dave. Who lived in the purchased houses around the corner, up the road.
Yeah.
I used to go to a place called Cameron Estate, which was known to be that's where the snobs live. They all bought their houses, and I used to hang around with a load of people there. I wouldn't hang around Edenmore. My parents didn't actually let me hang around Edenmore.
Why?
Where I lived. Because with the individuals, the type of people that hung around Edenmore at that time. I don't know what it's like now.
Niall, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody from Edenmore now that has made themselves a different life to what it was?
Oh, probably.
When your parents didn't.
I don't know. I don't really I don't keep in touch with anybody from Edenmore because I didn't really have many friends in Edenmore. I mean, I have one really good friend. He lives in Kerry now, mind you. He's actually a professor and he's a tutor in Kerry.
Wow, that's a plus, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. But me and him used to hang around Cameron Estate. So what I'm saying? No, but Jerry, that was then and this is now. They're very different times. Jerry, do you believe people? So let's say I buy a house, like Eddie mentioned there a few minutes ago. So I buy a house for say $350 in Dublin, right?
Yeah.
And then I get a leaflet in the door saying, up the road, there's a green area there from you. You know, 400 yards up the road. They're going to build 150 social houses. Should I have the right to object to those?
No, I don't believe you should. I think everybody deserves a fair crack at the whip, and then the antisocial thing comes into it afterwards.
After the horse is bolted.
No, not after the horse is bolted as such, but like, 3 strikes and you're out type of thing.
It's hard to put a genie back in the jar.
Sorry?
He said it's hard to put the genie back in the jar.
Nah, it's not. Do you know what? The genie can be put back in the jar at any time. At any time.
You're talking rubbish there, mate. At any time.
I'm not talking rubbish, and I'm after buying a house. I'm after buying a house. No, really? Can you explain to me how that works in your world?
Okay. I'll explain to you in layman's terms. A couple of scroats moving up the road.
Sorry. Whoa. You don't have to explain it in layman's terms. I am actually a layman.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain to you either way. A couple of scroats move up the road to you, right?
I'm just not from Dublin. I'm not from Dublin.
And that's okay.
I get that.
A couple of scroats. They build a council estate 100 yards away, and now all of a sudden there's more antisocial behaviour in the area. Dublin Council don't kick people out. I would love if there was a 3 strike and you're out, but it doesn't happen. There's people that haven't paid rent in council houses for 6 years, but it doesn't. And this is you can put the genie back in the bottle. You can't. There's people in council houses. We were only talking about it a while ago, right?
Back in the bottle.
There's people in council houses that haven't paid their rent for 6 years and they're still in their house.
Yeah, I'm aware of that fact as well.
People don't get kicked out. So now you're just left with the problem. And then you have to deal with it. And the only way to deal with it is to either suck it up or move somewhere else. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. There's not an easy fix.
You just said, Jerry, you've just bought a house, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you buy it yourself? Is it purchased or is it council housing, or when you say you bought a house, you bought it?
Purchased. I bought it on my own. Yeah.
Okay. So, and is there land near it?
There's a field at the back. Niall, I'm not joking you. I can open the patio door here now, right? And I can look out the back, and I can see as far. I'm 50 years of age. I can see as far as I can see, and you can hear a pin drop.
Okay, all right. So 50 yards or 50 meters away from you, they decide they're going to rezone the land, and they're going to build 400 social houses for people in the area who are homeless. Are you telling me, Jerry, you wouldn't complain about it?
It won't be a pin you'll be hearing drop. It'd be bleeding gunshots and fucking grenades.
Yeah. You know what, Niall? I would complain.
Well, then why are you saying that you shouldn't be allowed to object?
We finally got there in the end.
Stop, Jerry. Yeah, Jerry, you come on the air all guns blazing, giving out about everybody, and now you're saying exactly the same thing that you complain about it.
Can I say, when I bought the house, I done my own survey around the area, and I looked out the back window of the house, and I was like, yeah, there's green fields, and that's a fucking swamp out the back. Nobody's going to be building out there.
Yeah, so you took preventative measures. We're all not that lucky, Jerry. So you took preventative measures.
But Niall,
but if I buy a house in a leafy suburb in a city, right, you don't have the luxury of knowing they're not going to build on the green area across the road from you, right? So you do what they call searches. You get your solicitor to do searches, etc., etc. But planning permission nowadays is given very quickly.
No, Niall, actually, when you live where I live, planning permission is not given very quickly.
No, I'm talking about our minister lately has put in legislation whereby to build social housing, they can fast track planning permission. Now, that is new government legislation. So what I'm saying to you is, now they're not going to build on a swamp, obviously, where you live.
You can't.
Mind you, this is Ireland.
From a farming background, you can't get permission to build in your own land.
Oh, I know. Okay, but Jerry, the point is, you still said you don't want to see your peace disrupted. You know what I mean? So, but it's all well and good for you to come on now in your ivory tower. It's giving out about Dave and Eddie.
I don't have an ivory tower.
No, I'm just saying, giving out about Dave and Eddie, saying that you shouldn't be able to object when you yourself would object.
You shouldn't be. No, I wouldn't object.
Would you not?
I wouldn't object. No, I wouldn't. I don't.
You know what? You know what, Jerry? With the greatest respect, I don't believe you.
When those houses be built, and he'd put the genie back in the bottle somehow.
He would, yeah. Dave, can you put the genie back in the bottle?
No, but you know what?
Go ahead, Dave.
Actually, no. Just really quickly, I just want to. You know the house estate you used to go and hang around, yeah.
Cameron Estate, yeah.
Yeah, like, so I'm assuming there was not a net curtain to be seen in any of the windows.
There wouldn't have been a net curtain to be seen.
I didn't think so.
Or there wouldn't have been a caravan in a garden.
I looked, there's something wrong with a caravan in the garden.
There wouldn't have,
As long as it's a
there
nice
wouldn't have been.
There's no room for caravan in the garden.
There was no builders' trucks outside either. Or what's
okay.
the other thing? Statues of lions on pillars. Ah, no.
Or
What's wrong-
eagles, or
what's
eagles,
wrong with a statue
eagles
of a
on the
lion?
pillar.
What's wrong with eagles and lions? I know that's just being that's just being a
Dave,
dick. Yeah.
Dave, it's just so tacky. You ever see somebody and they have lions or eagles on the pillars on their house and council housing? It's just tacky.
It's
No,
tacky
they're
as
not
fuck,
that
yeah.
tall. They look the dog's bollocks. Would you stop? Especially
No,
when they're
no,
painted
Dave,
really
Dave,
well.
no.
like.
People around the track, we're on eagles and fucking lions here, not dog bollocks.
Yeah, do you remember years ago there was a fad of crazy paving on your wall? Do you remember that? Do you remember the crazy paving they used to call it? It was this odd
I
looking.
want to paint a mural of Homer Simpson on the side of my house one of these days.
You wouldn't be living near me, let me tell you, Dave, if you did that.
In
That's
the- and
a pure traveller
I wanna
estate.
do-
That's a pure
I-
traveller estate there now.
Yeah.
I want to get Homer Simpson, the gable end of the house, but I want it done in the style of, you know, like those IRA ones up the north.
The murals. Yeah.
Homer with two lads in balaclava standing behind him.
I know. I'd rather die than live beside you if you started that carry on. Dave, I tell you what, I've admitted on the air before I'm a snob.
My estate, I buy. If you moved into my estate,
Boylan, you're no
I'd put
snob.
house
You're
for
no
sale.
snob, Boylan. You haven't got it in you.
No, it's not a snob. You're a knob.
I have admitted before that I'm a snob. I don't mind admitting it, but all I say is, at least I have standards.
You're not a snob. You're a Karen. That's been well established.
No, I'm married to a Karen.
Huh? No, you are a Karen.
I'm
You know,
I'm
giving
married
out
to a
some
beautiful
poor fella.
Karen. Well, hang on. Let me go to Kathleen. Kathleen.
I thought you actually divorced the Karen, actually.
No. Hang on for a second. Kathleen, hi. How are you?
Hello, I'm laughing
Hello,
my head off
Karen.
at these
Oh,
comments
that's
here.
not Karen. That's Kathleen, Jerry, for God's sake.
Kathleen with a K.
Yeah.
No, listen, that fancy thing at paving, what do they call it? The front of the house.
Oh, the
That was
crazy
in
paving.
Coronation Street. They had that in Coronation
They do, yeah.
Street.
It's horrendous looking. It's just so tacky.
It's really horrible. Yeah, well, I live in a council flat now.
Yeah.
And it's my home, and I quite, you know, even though I'm a council tenant, there wasn't just nothing when I moved in here. I went into debt to get my home up and running, you know.
Yeah, to look nice. Yeah.
Furniture, for, you know.
Yeah, I'd live beside you,
bedrooms.
Kathleen. Yeah, I'd be all right living beside you.
Well,
You don't
know,
want
you will.
She doesn't want me living beside
you know.
Kathleen, can I just point out, in
No.
case anyone has a go, I think that 90% of people who live in council housing look after their houses very well and are good,
Yeah.
decent people, right? But the problem is,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, that, like everywhere, even in a private estate, you're going to get a percentage of people who are assholes. You know, you
Yeah,
get a higher
true.
percentage, unfortunately, when it comes to council housing.
Yeah, but I think now that I can understand the gentleman. He's paying all that money for his house, you know.
Mhm.
I just pray that he won't go bankrupt or he won't lose the home or his mortgage, stuff like that. Don't mean that in a bad way. But I believe that, you know, I can understand that gentleman. If I paid that amount of money, I wouldn't want, you know, because you just don't know with the antisocial. You just don't know, do you? You
No.
know, I think maybe they should put it out further from not right in where the people are paying all that kind of money. I understand the gentleman's perspective on that. You know, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you now.
And do you think people
You
should
know,
be allowed to
you know-
object? Do you think people should be allowed to object to social housing?
Yeah. If there's somebody's putting all that amount of money in, that's their life. You know, a lot of money is that.
Yeah.
You know, and then to put social housing in beside it. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
You know,
Jerry,
I mean,
Jerry didn't think you
you
should be
know-
allowed to object, although he should be allowed to object, but other people shouldn't.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I
I
just
don't.
think
I don't
that the
believe
man's
anybody
letting
should be
his man
allowed
in.
to object now.
Ah, but you, Jerry,
No, I don't mean that.
Don't mind
I
Jerry.
don't mean that. Where
I
does
do.
Jerry live?
Jerry
Where
lives.
does Jerry
You could
doesn't
pay
live
$1.5
in
million
Dublin,
for a
does
house and be living next door to Ozzy Osbourne. And what are you going to complain about then?
Yeah, but Jerry, you keep saying you shouldn't be allowed to object, but then 10 minutes ago you turned around and said you have this peace and quiet when you look out your back window and you can see as far as the eye can see and you wouldn't hear a pin drop. And I said, if they went to build a social housing estate beside you, what would you complain? And you said you would. So don't be saying you shouldn't be able to object.
But Niall, you changed the parameters when you said
I didn't change
the
any
land was
parameters.
rezoned at the back.
I
You
didn't.
did. You said the land was going to be rezoned.
Doesn't matter whether it's at the front or the back. I'm not changing parameters. They're just building it near you. You'd complain. Your peace and quiet would be gone. All of a sudden, there's a car going down the road with no tyres on it.
Yeah. Or the joyriders or something like that now.
Sorry, Kathleen?
Driving that fucking car with no tyres on it.
You probably would be. Sorry, Kathleen, what did you say?
Yeah, what I was going to say now was, I forgot what I was going to say.
About the car with no tyres?
I mean, no. He wouldn't be saying that if there was joyriders around, like there is around a lot of the areas in Dublin, where especially out Liffey Valley, out that way. I heard that's really bad.
Yeah, Clondalkin, Ballyfermot, Cherry Orchard. It's so, and you know what?
My God,
Tala went through that years ago because I remember working on radio back in 2003, and it was a really big problem in Tala at the time. But it's not as bad in Tala now because areas change as generations grow. You know what I mean?
Summerhill would have been my first port of call when I came here.
Where?
And it was Summerhill.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was where I first, when I moved over here, and I didn't have very much at the time.
And what was it like in Summerhill?
Joyride. No, don't know, Jesus, terrible.
Well, I remember the warning always for women was when you were driving up from Parnell Street up towards Summerhill there, or when you come up, I can't remember the name of the road, up the little hill up towards, when you're turning right to go in towards the north side, people used to always say, make sure your windows are closed. Keep your handbag on your lap, because there was a huge problem with them walking out in the middle of the day and smashing the window of the car and stealing handbags.
I was going down. I used to walk down that way to go to work. I was working down D1. And somebody tried to grab my handbag, and but he didn't get it. I pulled it. He trying to pull. I nearly smacked him in the face,
But he didn't.
I was able them days, you know what I mean? I didn't know it. His legs it then.
Right?
I go, I won't dwell on it, but it was rough,
Dave, that's why Dave moved out of Dublin.
Wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, but the people, there's nice people there, there's good and bad, isn't there now?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, don't get me wrong, you can get crime in Tipperary too,
Yeah,
of
course.
Yeah.
Well, actually, once upon a time, Tipperary had more British soldiers stationed in it than any other county in Ireland. And the village that I live in actually has its own phrase. It's called "Cap White is no place for a man with a thin skull." So there you go.
All right, okay.
I remember that phrase, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to have faction fights years ago.
Hard.
Sorry, Kathleen.
Yeah.
I want to say this because I don't want to hog the whole thing, but
you're not hogging anything. You're fine.
This year that I'm of Irish parentage, and I have to say now I can totally understand where they're saying about the British soldiers and all this. I know it's a different subject, but I just think it's the damage. I couldn't believe when I moved over here, but my parents were both Irish and they were nicest people.
Yeah,
and I just can't believe that. They probably had their own fair share of aggravation, not just from tenants that are not right. People that are just kind of, they don't live very well. They're antisocial, whatever, or they don't look after the property or whatever the case may be now. But I'm sure there's been a lot worse, in the past, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jerry. You couldn't. I have to say that was a funny line. If I was going to do a promo, I think that was a funny line when Jerry said you wouldn't hear a pin drop, and he said, "Yeah, move social housing in, you'll hear gunshots." I don't always think that's the case, by the way. I think it's unfair to say that about every area that has council housing, but I do agree with a lot of the callers that statistically you have a higher rate of crime in social housing and council housing than you would have in private housing or purchase housing, as they call it. And maybe it's because when you pay for something, you look after it better. I don't know. Maybe somebody mentioned that earlier on. Maybe that's the reason. Yes, Eddie was right. If you've got a drug dealer or if you've got somebody who's very antisocial, they're unlikely to buy their own home. They're more likely to be looking for social housing, so they're more likely to end up in those situations and more likely to end up beside you if indeed it's social housing. Again, I want to say not everybody in social housing is bad person or bad people, because they're not.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.